Hi there, my name is Stephanie and I am an alcoholic in recovery. It's been 5 years since I've drank alcohol, and it's only because of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that I have been able to stay off the sauce. And I'm an atheist, a Satanist, and a queer. So I'm able to take what works for me and leave the rest behind. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a lot of sexism, patriarchy, and just overall old fashionedness in this book. It was written in 1939. And so, what I'll do is try to make it as inclusive as possible and as atheistic as possible so that we can take what works, leave the rest behind. My program of recovery was court ordered for 6 months. And if it weren't, it wouldn't have stuck. I would not have stayed. I am a stubborn, stubborn girl. I'm greedy and I'm impatient. And those are my character maladaptive behaviors, character defects, as the book likes to call them. But I find that a little bit derogatory. I like to call them maladaptive behaviors. And so, with that, we will take our time through this text and we will pick it apart piece by piece so we can glean from it things that will help us get through the day, get through our life without resorting to emotional drunkardness, which is trying to check out using the numbing qualities of alcohol, gambling, sex, shopping, eating, or whatever drug of choice you love to numb out with. So, picking up where we left off last time, middle of page 85, the chapter is called Into Action in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Pause there. It's so dense, we already have to pause. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. So basically, alcoholism is, if we're not drinking, we have a daily relief from the pull of alcohol based on the fact, with the caveat being that we are taking care of our spiritual self. What does that mean for you? Your spiritual well-being, your spiritual condition, you have to keep that in shape. So some people think that that just means going to church. Some people think that that means praying. What does that mean to you, to keeping spiritual condition? What I have found for myself in almost 45 years of life on this earth and 5 years in the program, me trying to seek my higher power, seek that connection with a higher power, has found me in my most inner child moments. When I feel closest to my higher power and I keep in spiritual fit condition, it's because I'm playing. That's it. I play. I play with Mother Nature. I play outside. I exercise. I run. I jump rope. If I can get to one, I do a trampoline. I love to play. I love to arts and crafts and garden, play with the animals, be with the animals, breathe, look at the birds. These are the times when I am working out my spiritual fitness. That's it. That's it. When I'm sitting with myself, when I'm grooming, I'm taking extra time to love my body, this temple of consciousness that's a gift that I was given every single moment that I breathe. That's when I'm keeping my spiritual condition in shape. Now, today I ran outside. I don't know how long I ran. I know I was running for about 45 minutes, but I don't know the distance and I don't really know exactly how much time. And I don't really know how many calories I spent. Do I care? No. I was playing. I was dancing with the sidewalk. I was jumping rope. I was dancing with the rope. I was dancing with the bees. I was dancing with the birds, with the breeze. That's what I was doing. I was staying in spiritual fitness. I was working out my spirituality. Yeah, I was technically exercising, but listen, I'm a busy lady. I got to get things done when I can. The reality is we want to work smarter and not harder. If that means working on your fitness spiritually and physically at the same time, then I think that's a great idea. So that's why sports are an amazing way to stay exercise. And that's why when you're in the gym, you're not feeling as spiritually connected to your physicalities. I think that being out in nature really allows you to explore. That's just my opinion. But what the big book teaches us is that alcoholism is a daily reprieve with the caveat of spiritual fitness. That's it. You got to keep your spirituality in shape. Back to the text. Every day is a day when we most carry the vision of our higher power's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. Pause there. They're talking about willpower. That's a tricky word. I don't even know what the word willpower means. I don't need to know, because all I need to know is that what it means to me is something that's based in kind of your determination, right? That's what I think it means. So in my mind, when I hear something, they say that willpower alone is not enough to keep you off alcohol. Agreed. But they are saying that if you're going to rely on will, then rely on it in the sense that you know you want to do God's will. You have a willingness and a willpower to do your higher power's will. That's a lot of word salad. The way I've broken this down in my mind is my higher power is good, not God. There was a typo. It's not G-O-D, it's G-O-O-D. So anytime I say I'm going to do it in God's will, it gets confusing. Which God? Ra, the sun god? If I do it in good's will, I'm not confused, right? I'm never confused if I can just use good as a replacement for any word God. If I'm doing this in God's will, I know it's going to be good. Back to the text. Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from higher power who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of the higher power spirit into us. To some extent, we have become higher power conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action. Pause there. That is so interesting. Even though this book was written in 1939 and developed for a few years before it was even published, they're talking about having a sixth sense as your God consciousness, which I think this part of the text gets overlooked a lot. I hear a lot of things quoted that I just read, but this part I've never heard bumper stickered. And I like that. To some extent, we have become God conscious, good conscious, right? If we take the theism out of it, we've become good conscious. That's true, because we have figured out that when we act in good, we're not drinking. When we act in goodness of self and others, we feel better. It starts with the drinking, because as soon as we start drinking, we start making those altered decisions that aren't quite who we are. When we take that first sip, we're turning the light switch off, and the inner devil just lives. They breathe. The inner vampire. You have tainted the blood. Back to the text. So you are going to develop your vital sixth sense, and that means you must go further into action. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better people than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. Okay, I'm going to pause there. So basically, what they're talking about is before you go to bed, they want you to sit down and just scan your day. And I do this in a 10th step diary. Right here, it's kind of under 11th step, but either way, it doesn't really matter. I don't believe the steps have to be done in any order other than first has to be first. So when you retire at night, this is one of the things that the book is telling us to do. If you want to change your life, we have to sit down and do homework. This is how we learn how to be best self. We sit down and we say, were we resentful today? Were we selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe anyone an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? And were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we are most careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making a review, we ask our higher powers forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. We'll pause there. And they're talking about don't ruminate. Do not ruminate on negativity. Don't let it eat, as my friend once said. Don't let it eat at you. We're not going to ruminate on negativity. You want to avoid the remorse and morbidity. What you're doing when you review your behavior for any given moment or any given day is you're just debriefing, you're checking in with the most unbiased of mind you can to see what could be altered for future. And when we make an apology and make a slight change, people around us will see it, and the trust builds quite quickly, like dandruff from your head. Before you know it, you've got white shoulders. And the trust does build quickly. As long as you show up for yourself, you'll show up for everybody else. And this is how we do it with our homework. We're doing personal check-ins. Could I have changed anything today? Did I need to? And what we're doing is we're looking at it from our higher powers' will, what they would see. You want to refrain from justifying certain behaviors because it's what society tells you is not right. We're digging down deep for what we really believe in, our belief system, our honest structure of internal moral compass and ethics. Because in our recovery, we're building the scaffolding of what we believe as human beings, because we're starting anew. I'm only 5 years off of alcohol. That means I'm 5 years old as an adult, because I was drinking alcohol since I was 16 in trauma after assault. So as a clear-headed adult, it's been very short, many years, very short number of years that I've been able to put one foot in front of the other without drowning my mind in alcohol and figuring out who I am as a person. Because if I'm constantly drinking and recovering from that, then I'm not really me. I'm a version of me, but I'm not my true self. And if anyone wants to challenge that, go right ahead. But the thing that alcohol did to me was it made me feel okay in the world, which means I approached everything in a different way that was not authentic, because I often did not feel okay. And I am now paying the price for that, but at least I'm alive. It's a miracle I'm alive. It's a miracle you're alive. And thank you for being here. If you're still here, please drop a comment. I'm paying the price for all of the drinking and the lies I told myself. I was numbing out pain for many years and probably creating a lot of inflammation in my body. And right now I'm still dealing with trying to diagnose whatever's going on inside of me. I have a multitude of symptoms I'm dealing with, but it's all manageable for now. They flare up a lot, and I definitely think that it is connected to the alcohol abuse that I subjected my body to. Knowing that, I'm gentle with myself. I forgive myself for that. I was coping with sexual trauma inflicted upon me by my own father, and to this day, it still challenges my adult relationships. Once we stop drinking, there needs to be an outlet for the debauchery. I know that that's the case for me because my drinking comes from a place of chaos. And now that my life is quite stable, there is still the need for a false sense of chaos to keep me feeling like somewhat okay because I'm so used to it. So I've constructed safe, false chaos in my life to trick my mind into feeling better about the stability that I have cultivated and created in the life of alcohol free. So sometimes what my higher powers will for me is harm reduction, and it's making personal choices that are important to me. It's not in consultation with my partner or a family member. A lot of the healing goes inward towards self, forgiveness of self, and then a choice to give yourself what you need, even if society disagrees with you on what that looks like. There's a lot of judgment around the way we curate our recovery. There's a lot of people who say you can't do this, you can't do that, but that's a story they're telling themselves because they feel a lack of control in their lives. Your recovery is your own story to cultivate, curate, and feed, and keep that spiritual fitness and keep the harm reduction, the malevolence at bay, and the benevolence growing. Back to the text. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. Pause there. Thank you, Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, for giving me steps. I review my day, and then I think about my next day when I wake up. At the end of one day, I review a day. At the next day, I wake up and I review the next 24 hours ahead. I think about it, I plan, and I try to proceed with good intentions. If you were going to use the math on God to good, it would be God's intentions. See how the word good will replace the word God anytime you want a dogmatic-less rhetoric. Back to the text. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask our higher power to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance. For after all, our higher power gave us brains to use. Let's pause there. They're basically saying the stuff that's dishonest, self-pity, or self-seeking, we want to let it go. We want to identify where and when, and we want to make a choice to let those things go. Now, again, self-pity and dishonesty and self-seeking motives, these are subjective words. Something that might look like self-seeking to one person is just another person coping and managing their harm reduction. So I want you to remember to step back from the judgment of society and look at your inner compass. And understand that self-pity can be helpful as long as it's not ruminated and it's not manipulative. We need to sit with self-pity so that it does not rule us. So the text is true in telling us to watch out for self-pity, especially when it's dishonest. But the self-seeking motives and the self-pity, they do serve a purpose at certain points in our recovery, and we want to sit with those, indulge those, and move on from those. The only way to get through stuff is right through it. We can't go around it. So self-pity, if it needs to exist, it has to exist. You feel it, you embrace it, you immerse it, and then you move on from it. It's telling us here that, well, your God gave you a brain to use. Well, thanks for the Mr. Obvious. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. That's really subjective as well. Wrong motives. What is right and what is wrong? Now, step back from the societal beliefs because we have a President of the United States, also known as POTUS, who is a criminal to the highest extent, revealing a worldwide syndicate of debauchery beyond anything this abuse survivor could even imagine possible in reality, off the big screen, off the silver screen, off the fictional screenplays of the Hollywood that I live in. The reality of the debauchery of the world that I live in has given me a new light to what is expected of me. So I'm now considering different things that social norms are not allowing. And a lot of the people in my life cannot handle that truth. And that is a truth I will hold close to my vest. Because sometimes my self-seeking motivations and behaviors are exactly what I need, when I need it, how I need it. And I'm the only one who can tell that to you or anyone else. I'm the only one who can judge such a thing. So I'm not always consulting everything with anyone. I'm often not consulting my personal recovery choices with people in recovery, because I know what's best for me, and I know what my harm reduction looks like, and I know what healing looks like for me. See, my journey of abuse and addiction is different from yours. And the things that are going to feed my spirituality and my goddess higher power that lives inside, her healing journey, that's unique to me. And so make sure you're stepping back and you're taking the word wrong as subjective, and understanding that that is a decision you have to make for yourself. The book can't tell you what's right and wrong, and neither can your friends or your sponsors. You have to live with this. And there's a peace in that, because you're trying to trust yourself, and this is exactly how it'll get to you. You will find the inner trust when you understand that your self-care looks like something that others would reject, but you still know it to be true, and you can peacefully, quietly embrace that spiritual fitness without having to boast about it or get validation from anyone. Your spiritual fitness is your journey to decide and figure out for yourself. It's a path to still be written. It's not been told. It's not a story that's been told. You are writing this one brand new. Because with your rock bottom, with your desire to stop drinking, comes a nigredo, which is the death of self. You're decaying of old beliefs and systems of operation. And now the chrysalis is being let go. The butterfly is blossoming. The butterfly is flying. And you are anew. So your recovery is after the death of self. It's after rock bottom, and you are writing this story brand new. It's never been told. So remember that when you're concerned about, is this what's right for my recovery? Remember, harm reduction and self-trust. Let's build it one brick at a time, one choice at a time, 1 minute at a time. Back to the text. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask our higher power for inspiration and intuitive thought or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. Let's pause there. And it takes us so long to get through this text because there's so many nuggets of beautiful wisdom. Right here on page 86. The big book is telling us how to get through our day without alcohol. And if you are like me, then you needed this at some point in your recovery, or you still might. I need this. I need this reminder because I wasn't taught this as a child in my chaotic home of abuse. It tells me that in thinking about my day, I might face indecision. And that's true. I get stuck a lot. I don't know what to do with my time. And then it says, we may not able to determine which course to take. Here we ask our higher power for inspiration, an intuitive thought or a decision. We relax and take it easy. Thank you, Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, for giving me the permission to relax. It tells me to relax and take it easy, and that I don't struggle, and that I might be surprised how the right answer will come after I've tried this for a while. And that is true. As soon as I stopped drinking, I had to digest the feeling of relaxing my nervous system without alcohol, just being in a still state and just taking it easy. I'm still trying to perfect that, and it's difficult. So I love that bottom of page 86. The big book is reminding me and you. A lot of us are type A. A lot of us are just trying to get away from thinking about the painful stuff. So we never stop moving like a shark. But being with ourselves, being with the quiet, and being with our thoughts is so important, especially because the social media is it's an easy deafening. The social media, if you scroll long enough, it will just deafen your sad and scary thoughts. It won't let the fear creep in. But that's what the alcohol does, doesn't it? It tries to quiet those loud voices. And this is what we seek when we're looking for gambling, when we're looking for sex, when we're looking for food, even though we're not hungry. We're looking for something to quiet the monsters in our mind. That's why nighttime is often my biggest trigger. It's why I feel most awake at night, is because that's when my abuse came to life. My father used to abuse me at night, of course. So when I turned to sex work for survival, and I have turned to alcohol for survival, those things are all things that happen at night, which is why I feel like a night owl, which is why the night is a trigger for me, which is why the morning is a trigger for me. These are all things I've come to understand in the 5 years I've been off of alcohol. I didn't know these things about myself. I was going on autopilot, just fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And that's how it was for almost 40 years trying to get through this world without hurting myself and others. But know that I was constantly self-destructing, but it looked quite beautiful on the outside. No one could see that I was suffering. And aren't we the biggest addicts are the ones that are the sad clowns? No one can see the pain. I see you. I know your pain. I know your empathic existence in which you feel the pain. You feel it. You channel it. You can't help it. But the beauty lives alongside that pain. And this is where the higher power comes in. You will find a sixth sense. I'm feeling a oneness with not just the pain, but the joy and ease that lives alongside of it. That's where my higher power lives. The yin and yang of it all. And the shadow self must live in alignment with the one who stands in the light. And you are both of those things and all of those things and many of those things and nothing all at once. Because I am you, you are me. So therefore the individual is an illusion. Your free will is as well. Or is it? Back to the text, top of it, page 87. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with your higher power, it is not possible that we are going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no request for ourselves only. We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why. I'm going to pause there, and I totally disagree with this part of the text. 100% disagree. You can make some requests for yourself. See, this is the thing about healing. You have to forgive yourself. This is telling us that, oh, you can't pray to your higher power and ask for things that are self-serving. That's such semantic type of language. Go ahead and have some self-pity. You have to wallow in this for a little bit. Feel it. Don't medicate over it. But you need to feel it. You need to pray for yourself. Of course you do. Pray for the things that are for you, because when you are happy, others are happy. Of course you're praying for others. But you're not always only in service of others. We are in service of ourselves too. And a lot of the forgiveness that you will have to go through is with self and your slavery to the drink. And so, yes, I want you to ask for freedom of self-will, meaning like selfish stuff. Well, what does that mean? What is selfish? I don't know what that is, but I want you to be somewhat selfish in your beginning recovery. I have to take, because a lot of us who are addicts, we give of ourselves. We never understand the selfishness, the healthy selfish. I want you to be healthy selfish. I want you to take so much time for your meal prep and your pooping and peeing in the bathroom and your self-pleasure and your walks outside and your exercise and whatever it does for your spiritual fitness. I want you to be selfish in that. So no, I disagree with you, Big Book, on page 87. Just take your time to indulge you, because you were never indulged. This is why you've medicated, because no one gave you that value. It's time to self-parent. It's time to take care of yourself and go right ahead and indulge in those healthy ways. We're talking about harm reduction. We're not drinking. We're not doing illicit drugs. And we're not acting out. But we are going to do those conscious behaviors that will help us feel better, not worse. Does that make sense to you? I hope that does, because it makes all the sense in the world to me. And the reason we're going through this line by line is because the semantics matter and the details matter. This is a format for living. We're trying to take what works, leave the dogma, leave the patriarchy, leave the sexism, leave the God crap, because God is why people start wars. Let's talk about good. Right? Let's talk about harm reduction and beauty and joy, finding peace. And the Big Book tells us we're allowed to relax. Go ahead and relax, and that higher power inspiration will come as a thought, as a whim, as a seed, not from above, but from something tangible. Your higher power lives in the things and items and people and places and animals and breath and air around you, and the existence of them side by side. That is where the higher power lives. So find it in something close to you today. We'll end with a passage of wisdom and a meditation from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. These are the signs. Pain is often a sign that something has to change. Our hearts and bodies often give us messages we fail to pay attention to. Ironically, we are all so aware of pain, can hardly ignore it, but we rarely hear what it has to say. It is true that we may need to withstand great pain, great heartache, great disappointment and loss in order to unfold into the rest of our lives. But our pain may also be showing us exactly where we need to change. If we view our bodies as bridges that carry us from our inner life to the outer world, then pain often gives us insight as to where the bridge is experiencing the most stress. Pain lets us know where we might crack, where our lives need to be reinforced and rested in order for us to keep bringing our inner and outer lives together. During my struggle with cancer, I experienced a variety of deep and acute pains. I learned how to hold on and let go, learned how to endure, that is, let the pain go through without denying its hurt. But the most crucial thing I learned was to listen to the pain. I was being worn down by my chemo treatments, which were very aggressive. I was trying the best I knew how to live through as many treatments as I could manage. Everyone was coaching me to stick it out, Certainly, I was told by those more afraid than I, you want to swallow as much poison as you can tolerate so the cancer will be stricken from your body completely. I remained committed to this approach, but after 4 months, I lost feeling in my fingers and toes. The chemo was causing nerve damage and I had lost my reflexes. I struggled, unsure whether to continue or not. I felt that the cancer was gone, but the chemo was insurance. Endure more if you can, hold on. Within 24 hours, I was up in the night with the worst stomach attack I had ever experienced. There I was, pacing the living room floor at 3 a.m, trying to endure the pain, asking God for a sign. The chemo had now ulcerated my esophagus. Another attack gripped me. I doubled over. God, give me a sign. What should I do? I want to live. Another attack. This happened 3 more times when I suddenly realized the pain was the sign. And its message was to stop. It was over. There I stood, hunched over with my windpipe, bleeding and numbness in my hands and feet. And God was saying, these are the signs. Do you want more? I can give you more. The next day, I told my sweet doctor that I would not take that needle on my arm again, and it was over. The meditation. Breathe slowly and meditate on a pain that has been troubling you. It might be physical or emotional or even mental. Rather than toughening and resisting the onset of the pain, try to let it move through you. Notice where the pain is most acute. Notice where you first feel it and where you last feel it as it subsides. What is the pain telling you about the piece of your body or heart or mind that it is moving through? What might you change in how you move, feel, or think that will strengthen this part of you that is hurting? The profoundness of this passage, every single time I read one, it always pinpoints the reality of my day. I've been dealing with these aches and pains, and I've been forced to listen to them now that I don't drink and deaden my nerve endings with alcohol. And as I've had to listen to them, I've had to hurt and cry and sit with it, schedule doctor's appointments, therapeutic appointments, take meds, not take meds, figure out a way to move differently. Literally, physically, figuratively. There's so many elements of the human being that I am, and I'm moving in all directions in new ways, and that hurts. But we can do it without numbing out. We can do it with water, hugs, support, literature, naps. The big book tells us we can sit and relax. Until next time, I just want to thank you. Thank you for spending time with me. This text is worth exploring. I love you. Thank you for loving me back. Please subscribe, like, and share for anyone who's dealing with any sort of addiction. Until next time, no drinking. Keep smiling. Rules are meant for bending. Make good choices. Namaste.
Doesn't it feel good when you're just about to do something that you know is wrong and you decide to do something